If there's one thing I want to be known for, it's that I can whip something up decadent and simple without thinking or planning too hard for it. And baking and poaching scallops are the quickest and easiest way to cook scallops, especially for beginners and for those of us that may be a little lazy. Hi, I'm Jenna, and welcome to Cooking Companion TV. This is Navy, and I don't like to fuss up my luxury. If that sounds like you, subscribe and say hello. I have two baked options for you. A classic garlic. No, you're not getting the duck. I have two baked options for you. A classic garlicky breadcrumb and in the shell, or a ramekin or a cocotte with spiced butter and herbs. And even two flavor options with this to whet your appetite. Keep it simple here, and with combinations you're familiar with. Like, we don't need a structured recipe for something like this. The scallop is the star of the show, and everything else is just supporting roles. The type of scallop makes a big difference in simple recipes, so I recommend buying dry scallops, not wet ones. Now, dry means they have not been injected with preservatives, so their flavor is richer and more concentrated. You can watch my other video all about scallops to learn more about scallops. And let's step into the studio for the recipe demo. The first is a French Mediterranean style recipe with thyme, oregano, and garlic mixed into butter, along with a little dribble of white wine. I used a tablespoon of wine, and I think you could use as little as, I don't know, a teaspoon or so, because I was aiming for a creamier, more buttery texture, mostly because I wanted to sop that up with bread and it was just too watery. The other recipe is a little more Asian. Diced red chili, cilantro, fresh ginger and lime, and cooking sake. Mince up the chili, the ginger, and cilantro, and then a few swipes for some lime zest and a light squeeze of lime juice, and mix it into the butter. I used cooking sake, and then the scallop, and then the spiced butter on top. They get baked in the oven at 400 Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes. They will continue to cook out of the oven, so don't overbake them. They should be soft and springy. The breadcrumb scallop is also really simple. A little oil in the bottom of the pan, then the scallop, and then the breadcrumb mix right on top. Bake also at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes. The breadcrumb mixture starts with melted butter, about 4 tablespoons, a couple of cloves of minced garlic or garlic, and let that cook for 20-30 seconds. Add in the breadcrumbs, about half a cup. This can be regular or panko. We're gonna mix it together, let the breadcrumbs absorb the butter, and then start to toast and brown in the butter. You can also add chopped herbs like parsley or thyme towards the end. Here's a comparison of when the breadcrumbs started, and once they reached about the toasted level I was looking for. You can also add in grated Parmesan or lemon zest. I will make a large batch of this and keep it in the freezer because it works on baked or air-fried shrimp and fish and even a basic pasta. Now, as you can see, I've baked just a couple of scallops for each recipe, which means you can too. This is a delicious full meal if you want to use a lot of scallops, but for a dinner party appetizer or a snack, or you want a little bit of a lot of things, you can have scallops as a quick little treat. That's what's so much fun about them, and the fun that I've had exploring this whole recipe series, realizing that they don't need to be saved for a special occasion. I have more notes on how to buy the tastiest scallops and why some taste rich and creamy while others taste watery and bland. So watch All About Scallops to learn more about this delicious little seafood jewel. In front of me, I'm working on the next series of recipes, and it's gonna be all about duck. This is a duck confit Parmentier, which is just like a shepherd's or cottage pie, but the French version. So it's some leftover duck confit that I cooked up in some broth and wine with mushrooms and herbs. And then it was baked with some delicious mashed potatoes on top. So keep an eye out for that one. I'm also treating myself to a little bit of French whiskey because we have winter skies today. And some of my favorite treats from the Monoprix Gourmet, which you can only get in France. And this is the Monoprix brand. In particular, this is mini torsades in butter, and torsade is like a flaky, savory pastry. Usually it's like a long, thin strip that's been twisted, and then they cut these into little bite-sized pieces. And they've mixed in some Gruyere cheese, which is also on top of my duck Parmentier. We are eating well over here, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.